Your insiders, Chris Johnston and Darren Dreger. This is always kind of a weird, depressing time of year for the players on teams that are out of the playoffs. When you have a night like this where it's so exciting for all the teams that are in the mix. And that might be fivefold for the players of the Arizona Coyotes. How awkward, kind of strange a situation is this for them, CJ, as they await relocation?
It's as strange as I've ever seen. I was at their practice on this day, ahead of their final game of the season against Edmonton, ahead of what's probably the final game in the franchise's history. And there's almost a feeling of resignation there, and with good reason. There's already talk about a trip to Salt Lake City where the players will have a chance early next week to see the facilities, to see the city there. As you know, negotiations are down to the final hours here with Alex Morelos selling the team's hockey assets. And as Dregs reported, on Thursday, there is a call with the NHL's Board of Governors, a virtual one, whereby that could be as soon as when they're voting on an ownership change here. It may end up being an update depending on where those talks go. But amid it all, here are the players, the coaching staff, the trainers preparing for one last game.
There's so many logistics involved, too. Players may own houses in Arizona. Is there compensation for relocation?
There is, and that's going to be an important part of what happens next as soon as that sale is completed. When the players went to Vegas as part of expansion, players were given a $16,000 relocation fee. That went up to $20,800 in Seattle, and you can expect, in addition to sort of moving expenses, some house transition payments, that the players that are moving from Arizona to Salt Lake City will be getting something north of that number once those talks are completed with the NHL and NHL Players Association.
Meanwhile, the Sabres aren't going anywhere, but you could take that literally, too. They haven't gone anywhere now in 13 years as far as the playoffs, Dregs. Has the autopsy already started?
Yes, it has. And look, experienced coaches who are looking for a change or at least an opportunity need to start lining up. We're talking about Craig Berube, maybe Todd McClellan. What about Dean Evison? What about the return of Lindy Ruff to the Buffalo Sabres? I mean, all of that can't be discounted based on what we heard from Kevyn Adams, the GM of the Sabres, as part of his media availability. Now, he accepted responsibility and also applied some of the struggles of the Buffalo Sabres to his players. He discounted the fact that, they're a young team. No, he says they've got enough experience. They need to be better. So if he's hiring an experienced coach, if that's the missing piece, then obviously Kevyn Adams is on the clock as well.
Meanwhile, the World Championship approaches. Team Canada continues to put its team together. Connor Bedard, the first overall pick from last year, is going. Could the first overall pick coming this year be going as well?
He could be. Macklin Celebrini, he's been asked by Team Canada to report to the Worlds, and the expectation is that he will accept. So you've got two young guns there to bolster a lineup in Bedard and Celebrini. Beyond that, the roster for Team Canada heading over to Prague looks pretty solid. You've got Dylan Cousins, Bo Byram from the Buffalo Sabres. In goal, the experience of Jordan Bennington from the St. Louis Blues. Colton Parayko, the big defenseman from the Blues, also expected to accept the invitation from Team Canada. Big question mark beside Sidney Crosby. I mean, the Penguin season isn't even completed yet, so it's uncertain as to whether or not he'll be available.
We talk a lot about free agent busts. Patrick Kane would not be one of those. It's turned out really well for Kane and for Detroit. 47 points in 49 games. So what does the future hold for Patrick, CJ?
Well, that future was unknown even as soon as when he came back, right, in the fall after hip resurfacing surgery, a procedure no NHL player had gone through previously. And because of that strong performance he's had this year, he's energized. He wants to play not just one more season. He's looking at multiple seasons as the 35-year-old. I had a chance to catch up with him recently. He mentioned that he thinks he'll be even stronger when he comes back next year because he hasn't been able to use the last couple summers to train properly. He's loved his time in Detroit. No question he'd like to be back with the Red Wings if there's a fit there. But at this point, with all eyes on the playoff race, we'll have to wait until they've played their final game before we get more clarity on that.
And could really use him if they get there. That's where he shines the most. Insider trading.